And you're welcome back. And indeed, we are your election headquarters. Joining me now is Samuel Kojo Brace with our political desk, just to look forward earnestly to that make or break moments for the National Democratic Congress. But we are here covering all of the action. Brace, let's start off with the euphoria amongst delegates of the party themselves. They seem to be happy with just a few days to the polls. Why is there so much excitement in the camp of the NDC this time around?
You know, the thing is that at this particular time, you know, you are the kingmaker, and kingmakers comes along. Being a kingmaker comes along with a lot of, you know, its own benefit and what have you. So that alone is something that gets people excited. Another thing is also that they see that they have a clear chance to form the next government. And when you know you have a chance to form the next government,
right,
you know how it is.
Definitely. And we'll be capturing all of the excitement for you. But of course, the head of the political science department at the University of Ghana, Professor Alidu, has been, of course, talking through the process for us, indicating what the chances are for each candidate. I caught up with him at the University of Ghana earlier today. Professor Alidu, thank you for talking to Joy News. The political atmosphere for some is beginning to get charged, and we're seeing a lot of increased activities both on the side of the governing New Patriotic Party and then the National Democratic Congress. What's your take on this increased political campaigns that we're witnessing across the country?
Thank you so much for the opportunity. So it basically has to do with the timelines for elections. You know, we due to have our presidential and parliamentary elections next year, 2024. And political parties will definitely have to elect, select, or nominate candidates to be able to contest at the national level, be their parliamentary candidates for the 275 constituencies across the country, or the presidential candidates for the national elections and for the presidency. So usually the internal democratic electoral processes will take precedent, and then they will elect parliamentary candidates for political parties. They usually start with orphan constituencies, and then they follow up with the incumbent constituencies. Then they'll now do the presidential elections to elect a flag bearer that will lead those political parties into next year's election. And time is of essence. Given these very tight national deadlines for these elections, political parties will have to elect. They all have timelines stipulated by their constitutions. But the important thing is that if you're able to elect a parliamentary candidate or a presidential candidate earlier, it gives those people the ample time to be able to campaign across the length and breadth of the country.
That's an interesting perspective you're bringing up, because it became a conversation when we saw the governing side have some disputes or challenges over the dates or the timelines for their internal primaries. It appears that for now, the opposition party has gone ahead of the governing New Patriotic Party. Would this have an effect possibly on the general elections itself?
Yeah, to some extent. I think the MPP's constitution is very clear when they hold primaries, when they're in government and when they are in opposition. But I do think that given the very limited, so people who side with the late Congress argue that when you elect a flag bearer for the party, power gravitates towards the flag bearer than the sitting president. And because the flag bearer have the capacity to now dispense benefits prospectively if he wins. So it means that the president now technically become a lame duck president, and a lot of presidents wouldn't want that to happen. They still want to have the control, the command, and people still gravitate towards him, and he can dispense benefit. So that's one of the serious challenges of having it very, very early. There may be other changes, but one of the major. But when you delay it to, if there were conflicts emanating as a result of the processes, it becomes very difficult for you to be able to unite, deal with it in time, and to be able to present a united front ahead of the elections. So when you delay so much, and definitely these are competitive act, people who lose may not just think that they lost in a even if they deem it to be free, fair grounds, then maybe they will be able to participate and then bridge the gaps and you campaign together. When they believe that things have been skewed towards a particular candidate, then it creates a lot of acrimony And what happens is that they either stay at home, they encourage people who voted for them to stay at home, or they even undermine the incumbent elected flag bearer not to be able to win the election. So on both sides, I think there are advantages and disadvantages. But if the opposition NDC is able to do it ahead of the MPP, it gives them a lot of time to be able to market which one of them wins, whether it's the former finance minister or the former president. They are all well known, but it still gives them the ample time to be able to crisscross the country, sell their message, to be able to do a whole lot of things before the MPP now elects their flag bearer.
Right.
So the idea is that it would have been good if they had done it early. But you also see that the incumbent ministers who have expressed interest have all resigned. That undermines government cohesion and unity. Assuming the what's his name, the vice president is elected, is he going to resign his position, or how is he going to campaign? But whichever way you look at it, once you are able to do this early, it gives you ample time to be able to douse all the ambers of disagreements that will emerge, and to give your candidate ample time to be able to move around the country, visit places and speak to people, and be able to galvanize support on his side.
Since you're talking about the NDC, in fact, they're taking a lead, so it will be fair to look at what's happening to the political party in terms of their internal reorganization exercise. Let's start off from the presidential level. We have John Mahama facing stiff opposition from two other people. I'm saying that because he was the last presidential candidate for the NDC. First of all, what signals are you picking from this decision of not just Dr. Kwabena Duffuor, but also the former mayor of Kumasi, to contest John Mahama, who many see as the most followed individual within the party? Is that a sign to say his leadership is being tested at this point?
I think it all speaks to internal democratic maturity, because our constitution makes provision for political parties to be internally democratic. And internal democracy means that you allow people the opportunity to contest, vote, and be voted for in an elections. So if the party has passed a rule that says that nobody should contest the former president because he is the well-marketed, well-known, and you will have been stifling internal democratic processes. So I think it is good that people contest him, and it is good that the party has made it implement their constitution that allow other individuals to contest him. So at the end of the day, the people will decide, and that will give John Dramani Mahama or whosoever emerges as a winner an overwhelming legitimacy if you are able to compete and then you emerge as a winner in a free, fair, transparent processes. You have that level of confidence that the people like me, they have opposed this legitimacy on me, and that gives me the opportunity to say whatever you want to say. But if you are declared, you are protected, they didn't open it up, you also speak with a little bit of low confidence, because people will say if they had opened it up, maybe you wouldn't have been able to win.
So the competition is good.
So I think it's good for him. Once he's able to win with a wider margin, it imposes more confidence on him, and he will be confidently assured that he has the support of all his party followers to lead them into the 2024 election. And nobody will be able to say that had it been this way, you wouldn't have been the flag bearer. So it gives him so much opportunity, so much power, if he wins or whosoever wins, to be able to speak authoritatively, to be able to lead with confidence, and to be able to campaign in a manner that gives the party people the reassurance that he's the one cut for the job.
We don't know what the outcome will be yet, but Dr. Kwabena Duffuor is such a big force to run a race with.
He is. He is one of the party's stalwarts. He's been there, Bank of Ghana, finance minister, and a whole lot of things. So you cannot just discount him. So people often, most political analysts say it's a two-horse race between His Excellency the former President John Dramani Mahama and Kwabena Duffuor. But people don't think Kwabena Duffuor as that formidable to be able to cause an upset in terms of the presidential race. Right. In terms of his command and influence and achievement in the party, NDC as a party, you can't discount that. But there's one thing translating that achievement and confidence at the party level to the national level. And very few people are able to cascade that particular support from the party to the national. John Mahama has been able to do that. He has moved beyond just being a minister to a vice president, to a sitting president, to a former president, and he has all the accolades. So, and he has been tried and tested at the national level. He's campaigned before. He has the experience and the expertise to be able to marshal all the support and command that's needed. So, if you match them on that particular score, you tend to see that John Dramani Mahama has an edge over Kwabena Duffuor. And if you look at the campaign and how it's being conducted, the people who follow, the number of people who come around when you go out, when you speak, the media coverage and the attention and all those things, you tend to see that John Mahama has that little bit of an edge. But like you say, you cannot just discount. Elections is elections.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. So we still want to believe that it's highly competitive. And that's why the former president hasn't just relaxed. He will have said, oh, this. But you see, he's even more active in campaign than even the former finance minister. So at the end of the day, we don't have the power to decide. The delegates will do. And when they do, try to explain why they did what they did.
Are we leaving out, the former mayor, Kojo Bonsu? Because he says that the NDC will lose big time if they don't make him the front runner.
I disagree with him. I think in electoral competitiveness, every candidate or any person who puts himself up for elections must be considered seriously. Right. There's something we call the concept of the challenger quality. You see, it's not just adding your name to the race, but how competitive are you locally, internationally? So in this case, at the party level, but also at the national level. So when you look at that level of challenger competitiveness, you know, he's less compared to the former finance minister and what's the name, former president. And even when you look at one of the ways you can pick the challenger quality and the competitiveness of those who compete is the cross-party attack that you get. Right. So when you look at the NDC, MPP, in all their statements and reactions, cross-party attack, it goes to John than any of the other candidates. So I think they consider John as a more credible, serious candidate who can pose a lot of threat to their candidate than all the other two. So you see the crossfire that usually, inter-party crossfire, usually target the most credible, not most credible, the most competitive of all the candidates.
But I was just reading a content purportedly from the camp of Dr. Kwabena Duffuor, where he says the NPP has destroyed him than any other political party, just as a way of signaling to the delegates of the party that, look, I have more at stake than even John Mahama himself, who says he's making a comeback.
So I think maybe it may be in references to his private businesses rather than, okay, maybe that also gives you the power to be able to move you forward. So I think he's right on that score. But was that as a result of the anticipation that he may run for office at the presidential level, or the government was just doing their work in a very genuine manner, or they were just targeting him for other personal reasons? We will not be able to tell. But
so it won't be a factor.
Yes, so it's a big case you can make out of. Right. I think in politics, it's how you are able to sell yourself and make a very small issue a very bigger issue that deserves policy attention. So if he's able to connect his challenger quality and competitiveness based on this, that's how he will sell himself to the delegates. But it's then left with the delegates to be able to buy into that particular argument or not buy into it. So it's a very good way to make a very good point.
You've seen the trajectory of the opposition party, having moved from the likes of the PNDC, metamorphosed into the NDC as we have it now. Some say NDC 1, NDC 2, and now John Mahama's NDC, and we're post that era where he's still making a comeback. What do you see about this opposition party and its quest to look for a new leader?
So I think in this part of our world, opposition parties usually go through a lot of challenge in terms of funding, in terms of support base, in terms of the leaders that they select, in terms of mobilization and organization. Quite a whole lot of things, especially when you lose two close elections together. If you are not careful, it may disorganize the party, but also weaken the spirit of the support base. So that's why 2024 is very critical for the NDC to win. I think it started with the national level executives, even before that, constituency, regional, national level executives, and the caliber of people who have been elected. We saw a lot of casualties that happened. People thought the party was going to disintegrate, but I think they have been able to manage their differences very well. Even if deep down there are huge cracks,
there,
definitely. For now, they have been able to present to the public that we are organized and we are doing very well. I think they have crossed the first hurdle of the national. The second one will have to be the parliamentary. And then the presidential as well. If they are able to cross those hurdles too and be able to close their rank and file together, then they'll be poised, united for 2024. And then the rest of the challenge will not be with the NDC and how Ghanaians perceive, with the MPP, and how the Ghanaians perceive both the NDC and the MPP. Sometimes it's not just it's not just overly display of unity. If you look at what happened prior to 2016, the MPP was one of the most disorganized parties. You saw the Delta Forces, the Azoka, Bulga Bulldogs, and all the machinations that was happening at the MPP's headquarters. The suspension of Paul Afoko, Japan, and all. It was very nasty. They looked very disorganized, but they were able to win those elections. So sometimes it's not just pretending that everything is well. Sometimes it's knowing where you are and taking advantage of your weaknesses to be able to project yourself and win elections.
And that's an interesting perspective, because the presidential may look like a walk in the park for John Mahama, but the parliamentary level, some experts say, could trigger that rift within the opposition party. And starting off from some of the surprise elements we saw when the new leadership of the party took over, by changing the leadership in parliament. You've not expressed your thoughts on that. I mean, looking back at all the justifications, I was speaking to the general secretary of the party, he says it's to ensure regional representation, and based on the fact that the 2024 elections will be about the economy, they are putting, quote, their best foot forward. Justified?
Honestly speaking, there could be other reasons, but if it's the economy, I don't think is a very strong justification to some people, because if you look at the parliamentary composition, either minority or majority leadership, there are people with expertise in all the sectors. There is a finance committee, there's this committee, and both the minority and the majority have members who specializes in those things. And the party takes a position, and then they advise the leader on what to say and what not to say. So the leader himself does not necessarily have to be somebody who is competent in the economy, because then people will often say, then it means the flag bearer might as well be somebody with vexed economic background. But because party works together as a team, you work at the pace of the weakest link among you. So your ability to rally around and compensate the weaknesses make you a very strong political party. For whatever reasons that orchestrated that change of leadership in parliament, I think the party seems to be closing their rank and moving forward. But sometimes people may not openly express that anger at that particular level. They may express it at the constituency level, but also people who supported those people who were taken out of government in political science terms may want to avenge, those decisions. But a lot of care has to be exercised in terms of taking that particular issue as a serious matter, because prior to 2020 elections, the MPP decided to protect some few MPs from competition by other people. And they paid the price. And the justification was that, they are in government, they don't have time, they've done well, and look at what happened. So I think these are some of the things that, moving forward, they seem so minor, but people vote for very various weird reasons, right? And I think once those issues keep coming up, the party will have to take a very bold decision. After that particular change, they have been able to kind of close their rank. You don't see people talk about it, and you see the minority side working seemingly closer together, and things have been moving well as it appears now. But as long as people, guys, will start talking about those issues, they will have to find a solution to it.
But how about the individuals who were changed? At least we've seen the former minority leader speak. He says, nobody can take Tamale, the Tamale seat away from me. For Muntaka Mubarak, he's facing quite a lot of challenge in his own backyard, the Asawase constituency, which happens to be one of the very few he preserved for the NDC in the Ashanti region. Do you feel that the party should come to his aid at this moment as a form of compensation, having taken him off from the front row?
So, in traditional established norm practices, the party is always supposed to stay neutral from some of these activities. And several of our studies show that in most of the constituencies that some of these political parties lost their seats, it has always been that the party actually supported a particular candidate,
right,
and then that candidate lost. And then when he won, there have become that kind of vindictiveness between the incumbent and then the current MP or the DC and the MP and all those. So per party rules, they are supposed to stay neutral. They are neutral arbiters, they let the processes unfold. But if it has to do with maybe an NDC candidate against MPP candidate, then I think the NDC will have to marshal all its resources to support their candidate. But moving beyond even the party support, there is also that kind of informal parliamentary solidarity. And so what happened to Joe Wise?
Yes.
Ababag being moved,
came to
his rescue because they believe that even within our fold, there are people we still want to come back, regardless of the party divide. So even in circumstances like this, you are likely going to see maybe people within parliamentary caucus or setup trying to protect their own people, and sometimes even crossing party ranks to be able to do that, than maybe seeing the party coming strongly. Yeah, we often hear, the party hierarchy is supporting this candidate, they are disqualifying this person because they like this. Those things happen. But formally, the party shouldn't display that kind of bias. If they do, it could cause a lot of harm. And you saw what happened at, is it Fomena?
Yes.
The party position against the candidate and he going independent and what actually happened. So there are a lot of dynamics that may still unfold. And I think political parties will have to, especially the leadership, will have to be very careful the positions that they take, especially when it comes to supporting it, when their position will undermine free, fair, even playing ground for competition.
So
then they will
Muntaka should not be protected.
I think the party should allow the due internal processes to occur, and whosoever wins, then the party can support him against the MPP. Yes, Muntaka is somebody with huge institutional memory about parliament, parliamentary business, and if he loses that seat, it's going to be a huge loss, not only to the NDC, but to parliamentary business in our legislature and to Ghana at large. But that doesn't also mean that we can't get new people who also come and learn on the job and then become a future leader. I'm always against the idea of protecting an MP because of some reason. That MP was one time a first timer, and he has also learned through the ropes, right? So I believe internally the party should allow free, fair, open processes. Whosoever wins, then the party now throws their support behind that candidate to be able to move forward.
But we've heard from the likes of Professor Aaron Michael Kwe, who, of course, at some point was here in your department as well, raised the point about the high level of attrition we're seeing in Parliament. For you, you feel it's not a cogent argument?
Not even him. I think besides him, there are other seasoned legislators. I've heard the current majority leader. He's a key advocate for that particular thing. But I still disagree.
But we know good MPs, don't we?
You see, at one time, he wasn't an MP. He's a guru now. Right. But he learned. If the seat he contested, that person was still there and protected, he wouldn't have been an MP and wouldn't have realized all the good things he's done.
So your point is give the chance.
Fantastic. Right. And guide them. So that we can have those elements of people out there. And there's nothing bad with parliamentary PTI, the Parliamentary Training Institute, bringing in those old people with that good experience to come and mentor and train the new ones. There's always a point of learning. And if you don't come in, if you're not given the opportunity, how do you learn? So if we so assuming we started protecting most of the MPs from 1992 up to now, all these new fantastic crop of we wouldn't have been able to get to them, right? So I still think that allow internal party democracy to occur. Let it evolve. It deepens our democracy. And when we do that, then the parties cannot support their elected candidates. And those new first-timer MPs who need support, the Parliamentary Training Institute and their political parties can provide that kind of expertise and training to them. And then they also rise to become giants in parliamentary business and parliamentary affairs. But if we keep protecting, it gets to a point the MPs have been there, they even become complacent. When you complain, though, because they are used to complain, they don't mind you. But the new first-time MP, he's still new, so he's still on shaky grounds. There's responsiveness in governance. He responds to the people too. If I don't do, but wait, he goes first term, second term MP, third term, now when you complain, it's normal, kind of. So I think they should always know that their job is not guaranteed, and their job depends on their performance. And they'll forever perform. But if you know that, because he's, let's protect him. Protect him against who? The people who have voted him into government. You should let the people make a decision.